Hello students, in the last video we learned about the reflex arc, brain and spinal cord. In this video we will learn about the sense organs. So the sense organs are those organs that detect the changes in the environment and convey the information to our central nervous system. These include the eye, the ear, nose, skin, tongue. Let us understand the eye in detail. We have two eyes which are located in sockets of the skull which are called orbits. The adult human eyeball is nearly spherical and it has three layers: sclera, choroid and the retina. Sclera is the external layer which is formed of a dense connective tissue. The anterior transparent portion of the sclera is called the cornea. Then we have choroid. Choroid is the bluish middle layer. It contains many blood vessels. It is thin over posterior and it covers two-thirds of the posterior eyeball, but it is thick in the anterior part to form the ciliary body. Then we have the choroid. The ciliary body continues forward to form a visible pigmented and opaque portion which is called the iris. Iris has a center which is called the pupil. This is the central opening. The diameter of pupil is regulated by the muscle fibers of the iris. So that's why our pupil increases in size and decreases in size depending on the light intensity. The eyeball contains a transparent crystalline lens. It is held in place by ligaments which are attached to this ciliary body. Retina is the inner layer of the eye. It has three layers of cell which form inner and outer parts. These are ganglion cells, the bipolar cells and the photoreceptor cells. These photoreceptor cells are what help us to detect the light. So they are of two types, rods and cones. They contain photosensitive proteins, that is the photopigments. The photopigments are formed of opsin, which is a protein, and retinal, which is an aldehyde of vitamin A. The function of the cone cell is to detect color. So they detect the daylight vision and the color vision. There are three types of cones present in the human body which contain the photopigments that respond to the red, green and blue lights. The sensation of different colors are produced by combinations of these cones and their photopigments. Then we have the rod cell which function to give us the night vision or the twilight vision. They contain purplish red protein called rhodopsin, which is basically a derivative of vitamin A. So night blindness is an eye disorder which occurs when there is deficiency of vitamin A. Retina is the screen of the eye. This is where all the rods and cones are located. So at the region slightly above the posterior pore of the eyeball, the optic nerve originates. It leaves the eye and the retinal blood vessels enter it. Here the photoreceptor cells are absent, so this is a blind spot. There are no cones or rods located here, so the person cannot see if the light falls directly in this area. Lateral to blind spot, there is a yellowish pigmented spot called the lutea or with a central pit which is the fovea. The fovea is a thinned out portion of the retina where only cones are densely packed. It is a point of greatest visual activities. That is, we will have greatest resolution if light falls in this area. Now let us learn what is aqueous humor and vitreous humor. The space between cornea and the lens is the aqueous chamber. It contains aqueous humor. The space between the lens and the retina is called the vitreous humor and it contains the vitreous chamber which is basically a transparent. Now how do we see the objects? So the light is first reflected from an object, then it enters the eye through the cornea and the lens. All of this is focused on the retina, this region. And then because of this, there is dissociation of the retinal from opsin. And this changes the membrane permeability, which in turn is sent to the brain. So because of this, there is a potential difference which is created in the photoreceptor cell. Now this generates action potential in the ganglion cell through the bipolar cell, and the impulses are transmitted by optic nerves to the brain in the area of visual cortex. These impulses are in turn analyzed by the brain and the image is recognized based on the memory and experience. So this is what gives us the vision. Now let us understand the working of another sense organ, that is the ear. It is the organ of hearing as well as balancing. It has three divisions: external ear, middle ear and inner ear. The external ear consists of pinna and ear canal. At the opening of ear canal, there is hair present. It consists of modified sweat glands which secrete ear wax. The wax and the hair prevent the entry of foreign objects in our ear. The ear canal ends in a membrane called as eardrum or the tympanic membrane. It is basically a semi-transparent membrane which is covered by a thin layer of skin on its outer surface by mucous membrane on the inside. This is the tympanic membrane. The middle ear consists of the tympanic cavity and the ear ossicles. Tympanic cavity is an air-filled cavity space that separates the external ear from the inner ear portions. The auditory tube connects the middle ear to the pharynx and it maintains an equal pressure on either side of the eardrum. The ear ossicles include three bones which are malleus, incus and stapes. Malleus is attached to the tympanum. Stapes is the smallest bone of the body. It is attached to the membrane of the oval window of the inner ear. The inner ear consists of the bony labyrinth and the membranous labyrinth. The bony labyrinth is a cavity filled with perilymph. The membranous labyrinth consists of cochlea, which is the organ of hearing, and vestibular apparatus, which is the organ of equilibrium, which helps to maintain the balance. Cochlea is a coiled structure having three canals: the upper scala vestibula, the middle scala media, and the lower scala tympani. The vestibula and the media are separated by a membrane. The media and the tympani is also separated by a basilar membrane, and the vestibula and the tympani are filled with perilymph. So this is how the whole structure of the inner ear, that is the cochlea, is organized. The resting of the basilar membrane and projecting into the scala media is complex receptor organ called corti. It consists of sensory hair cells. The hairs of these cells project upwards and they lie in contact with the tectorial membrane which projects above them. It consists of three semicircular canals and the otolith organ. The two semicircular canals are vertical and one is horizontal. At the end of each canal, there is a bulging which is called the ampulla. Inside it, there is a lump called cristae ampullaris. The long cilia of the cells of crista are grouped together in a bundle which is called cupula. The otolith organ consists of utricle and saccule. They have a projecting ridge which is called the macula. So the crista and macula are specific receptors which contain the sensory hair cell. They are responsible for maintaining the equilibrium and posture of the body. Now let us understand how does the mechanism of hearing occur. So the pinna collects the sound waves. The waves reach the tympanic membrane by the ear canal. The tympanic membrane will vibrate. The vibrations will be sent to the ear ossicles and the oval window. The perilymph in the vestibular canal will then vibrate. The vibration will reach the scala tympani and force the basal membrane to vibrate. Then the hair endings of the sensory hair cell press against the tectorial membrane. The sensory hair cells are now excited. So now auditory nerve carries the impulses to the auditory center of the brain, and that is how hearing occurs in humans. The organ for smell in our body is nose, also called as olfaction. That is another name for smell. It contains mucus-coated receptors which are made up of olfactory epithelium. They receive sense of smell, and it contains three types of cells. The neurons of the olfactory epithelium extend from the outside environment directly into a pair of broad bean-sized organs called the olfactory bulb. These are the extension of the brain's limbic system. Then we have the organs of taste, that is our tongue. Taste is also called as gustation. There are four primary tastes which a human can detect: sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. There are taste buds which help us to detect these tastes. They are present on the basis of the taste papillae. The nose and the tongue are chemoreceptors. That is, they detect the dissolved chemicals which are present. The sense of taste and smell are functionally similar and interrelated. The brain integrates different inputs from taste buds, and a complex flavor is perceived. Then we have the skin, which is the largest sense organ. It contains receptors of heat, cold, touch, pressure, and pain. So, because of the skin, we are able to detect all these stimuli which is present around us. I hope you understood this chapter properly. Thank you.